Hello and welcome to Stories, the True and the Fictional, the indie author podcast supporting indie authors from all around the world. This episode is brought to you by Rebecca Kearsells of the Rising Dawn series. You too can become a sponsor by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes. And now, let's get into the show. Warning. Listening to this episode may cause your TBRs to grow in size.
Hello guys and welcome to another fantastic episode of Stories, the True and the Fictional. I am one of your hosts, J.A. Bryden. With me always is our resident reader, Ryan. How are we going, Ryan?
Good. Living the dream, man. I started after I finished Don't Let It Out, which is a review copy, and left my review. I started another horror book by a gentleman called Daniel Lawn. The book is called... give me a second. I had it in my head. It's called Sins of the Wronged. It's about I'm about halfway through. It's about a couple who are heading to a remote cabin for their anniversary. The husband, the boyfriend is kind of checked out. He's already been stepping out on his girlfriend. He plans to break up with her up at the cabin, and as I like to say, hilarity ensues. But demons, devils, all that kind of stuff. So it's very good.
Excellent.
So that's called Sins of the Wrong by Daniel Lawn.
Awesome. Well, guys, we're about to jump into another multi-author episode talking in-person events with some great authors. Zack Riley, Gustavo, who writes with his wife.
Jordan St. James.
Jordan St. James, that's the name I'm looking for. Who else was there? There was Jessica Barberi and James Fain back again.
The Outlaw Author.
The Outlaw Author. It was a great conversation, talking from great tactics to sell your books to, things that people do that are off-putting. Such a great wide discussion. How do you think it went, Ryan?
I think it went really well. I personally learned a lot about the behind the scenes in in-person events for authors. What works, what doesn't, what tropes are off-putting, and what tropes really work. We learned a lot about how you indie authors like to sell books at events.
Cool. So before we jump in, guys, remember to check out our sponsor, Rebecca Kearsells of the Rising Dawn series. Check out our honorary sponsors, Janelle Schiecke and Alexander Robb. All their links are down below. If you want to reach out, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com, and also, guys, buy some merch. Buy Ryan's shirt. We've got a great line of merch, and if you want to join the Discord and be more involved with a lot of these multi-author episodes, please reach out. We'll give you the link. I think that's all I've got to say. So let's go talk to some wonderful authors about in-person events. Hello, guys. Welcome to another crazy multi-author episode where we're going to talk all about in-person events, because I figured, it's kind of where a lot of indie authors have a lot of success, and maybe some people out there are wanting to get into it themselves and start, putting their face to their work. So let's go around the room and see who we are talking to. Ryan, you're not an author, but you're here for the fun. How you going?
I am. I'm living the dream, mate. Living the dream. I don't have anything to plug, but I'm excited to hear everyone's takes. I've been to a fair few live book events in my time. And buy my shirt is what I want to plug. Buy my shirt. Living the dream. You too can live the dream without paying royalties to me. So check it out.
Cool. All right, let's go around the bottom. Jessica Barberi, you're back. You're raring. How are you going?
I'm doing great.
How's the new Bubs going?
The new baby is downstairs. She was eating her hands, so she very well might end up here so before we're done. But yeah, we're doing good. Now we're a big family of 6, so 4 little
Jeez.
babies. So
Wow.
Awesome.
yeah.
So anything you want to
Kicking it.
plug? Who are you?
I mean, I'll plug myself. You can check me out, jessicabarberi.com. I have 2 series that I'm working on in a standalone novel, and if you like fantasy, especially something maybe a little more literary, that'd be where it's at.
Awesome. And first time on the podcast, Zack Riley has a great accent. I'm just going to say that. How you going, mate?
I'm going good, and I've been told I don't sound Australian enough when I tried out for voice acting before. So, yeah, no, going good. Happy Saturday morning for all the Aussies, and happy Friday night for all the Americans. So, I'm a multi-genre author. I started my writing career back in 2011 whilst on deployment with the Australian Navy up in the Arabian Gulf. I've got 2 published works officially. Ellie the Mulebred, which is xenofiction, and so anthropomorphic characters, if you think the Disney Robin Hood story, but a more adult telling of it. Not the exact same, but the other one. And I've done uh, Mad Max cross Final Fantasy sort of crossover with Guardians. I've got a couple other works that I'm working on. Literotica, Origin of Werewolves, which is more a complete shackles off, just telling a stupid story as if I was a 16-year-old writing something stupid and pretty funny, and a couple of other little short things. So it's published there because there were no algorithms, and I've had over 21,000 reads on that particular story. So yeah, and just a couple other short fictions, and my history and background was I was part of a writers group, and ended up hosting it towards the end there, and just sort of COVID killed it off. It ran a couple of extra years over with me as the host, but just trying to manage it with everything going on in my life at the moment is a bit chaotic because I do car shows and everything else as well. So it's my background.
Awesome. Jesse James Fain, you're back. How you going?
I am. It's been an interesting day. Like I was kind of talking about right before we started, I been displaced from my home without power. Got a power line down across the driveway right now. So you guys are getting a very interesting new background from me as I'm over at my mother's house, so I can be here tonight. But yeah, I'm Jesse James Fain. I go by the Outlaw Author because that's my name, and when your name is Jesse James Fain, you have to. I'm contractually obligated. I write sword fights, fist fights, gun fights. I have a ton of short fiction out, generally focusing on action along with vengeance, loss, and redemption. My first debut novel is actually on Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is live right now as of recording. I don't know quite when this is going to come out, but it should probably be live then as well. It's called Gravesinger. The short version is it's about a retired special forces necromancer who gets pulled into an interdimensional ocean and has to deal with a massive world-spanning political scheme.
And that was just amazing. The timing was impeccable. It was just like,
right on time.
What was that? Did you just say, I really want you to support Jesse James Fain? That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Excellent. Sorry, Jordan St. James or Gustav. Which would you like to go by? Or Gustavo?
Well, my name is Gustavo. My wife's name is Jordan, but we write together under the pen name Jordan St. James.
Okay, cool.
And you can find let's see, we got X, Instagram. We just started a TikTok, and pretty much everything is under House of Q LLC.
Cool. So a writing duo. That's pretty cool. Do you get into much arguments? Does one write and one edit? How's it work?
So no, almost no arguments. We're usually we're usually on the same wavelength. I mean, there are minor disagreements, mostly about grammatical things, but generally speaking, we collaborate really well. So it makes it super easy. Everyone's like, "How are you guys still married?" It's like it's actually like a ton of fun. I mean, it's one of the reasons like a lot of people will tell you, you know, if you're going to be successful, you got to write because you love to write, and you know, even if we couldn't sell it, we probably would still be doing it together just because we have so much fun doing it. So no, the way we typically operate is we work through the story. We do a lot of talking, and we do all of that out loud. And she typically takes notes, and she'll usually write the first draft, and sometimes the second, and then I'll go through it. And it's a process, but it's fun. It's good. We've got a full trilogy. We've got a standalone romantasy. We've got another trilogy. We've got so many different projects we want to put out. But time is limited. So, and then doing in-person events also takes time. It's you got to weigh it. Like if you've only got so much time in your life, and you're going to do in-person events, that is going to take some of your writing time away.
The pros and cons of being an indie author. It's just like you got to do it all yourself, pretty much.
You guys have pros?
Yeah, I do. Well, let's dive in. Let's just dive into the topic. What we did last time. I don't think we had as many people as last time, but I'll say something. Stick up your hand so you're not talking all over each other. I think that worked well last time. Okay, so I don't know. Who's done the most in-person events? Or how about we do this? Tell us about your very first one, how you planned for it and how it went, kind of thing. That'd be the easiest way. If anyone wants to chime in. Yeah, Jesse?
So I was blessed to be prepared by life to be a indie author because my family sold Native American jewelry at powwows when I was growing up. So my first selling in-person event wasn't books; it was the jewelry and the beadwork. And I was about 4 years old.
Oh wow!
So I kind of grew up in the booth. And there's just stuff that you kind of learn when you're doing that. You learn always bring food, no matter what anybody tells you. If they tell you you can't bring food, punch them in the face and bring the food anyway. Always bring water, no matter if they tell you they're providing water. If they tell you you can't bring your own water, use the same answer as I gave you a moment ago. There's do not count on power. It's like preparing for a road trip or a camping trip, plus having to bring all your inventory. So make sure you bring a ton of stuff, you bring extra snacks, you make sure that you're going to have comfort items, and every show is going to be different. So it's going to take you a while to get a rhythm on what works, what the booth size is, what your table's like. But yeah, that was my first experience was doing it for years at the Native American festivals.
4 years old, geez. So you're a pro now, mate.
It's still, I have a lot of experience at it. It is still you have to lean on each other, and I'll talk about that later. But the community has to take care of the community because every once in a while you're going to go, I need a zip tie, and I left my zip ties in my other bag.
Yeah.
Or when something's going to pop up. So, but yeah, I've been doing it a very long time.
Cool. Anyone else want to tell us about your first experience? Yep. Gustavo.
Sure. Yeah. So our first experience was local. There's a Fanboy Expo. They do events in a few different cities, and it was last July, and it was our first, and we didn't know what to expect. obviously, because it was our first, and it was pretty big. I mean, there were many, many thousands of people at that event. It wasn't a small event. It was a 3-day. So it was a lot for 3 days in a row. It was a lot for a first event, I would say. Um, and it was good. I mean, we didn't. I'm the more social of the two of us, and I definitely was going around talking to people, which I recommend you do, particularly authors. Try to gauge, is this what is it typically like at events like this, and ask questions. I've learned a lot from other authors who've been doing it longer than myself on what works, what doesn't work, and then obviously you have to experiment yourself. But it was a good experience. It was fun. The Fanboy Expo is not just a book event; it's more of a pop culture everything event. That particular event, they had like all the Supermen, except for Christopher Reeves and I think Dean Cain. I think almost every actor who played Superman was at that event, and they had a lot of other big names like William Shatner. So it was very busy. But that is one thing we learned at that. One big thing we learned is it doesn't really matter the size of the event. You could have you could have 30,000 people. It still may not be your event because they're going to draw certain audiences. And even though there were so many people there, I mean, we were on the third floor, which was an artist alley. And if you're unfamiliar with it, artist alley is typically one of the cheaper options you can get at an event like that. So obviously for us, that's what we went with. We didn't buy the larger booths for vendors, which are sometimes hundreds of dollars more depending on the event, sometimes way more. Some events are like $1,500 for a vendor spot. This was, I think, around 300. Yeah, and it was good. But we definitely learned that it doesn't matter how big it is, you need to find like your niche. And we can I've learned kind of where we've definitely learned, but we can get into that later about where we've kind of tested different events.
Yeah, cool. So, anyone else? First experience?
I can go because it was a little different. So I did a farmer's market on a lark. It's like a craft flea market thing at a local farmer's market. They all had, you could rent a 10 by 10 pop-up space for like $20. So I was like, I mean, why not try it? And it was actually pretty cool as far as I got a lot more interest in sales than I expected. However, my tent blew away and broke.
Geez.
So that was a lot of learning there where we learned that we're outside, you need weights and rocks and stuff because it was very windy in that particular area. It wasn't even a windy day per se, but it was just there's farm fields all around it. So it was just a windswept tundra. So we learned a lot about sandbags and a better quality tent that doesn't just break, and weights and paperweights and different things. But it was a lot of fun to do that and get good positive feedback from the community and interest in a fantasy novel at a farmer's market. You wouldn't necessarily think that. So
Cool.
Big difference between indoor and outdoor events, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Zach?
Yeah, I guess my first in-person event wasn't, it had nothing to do with books. It was actually an animal show, something that I used to do a long time ago, and having young children at that as well was a bit of a nightmare. But I'd say probably the biggest takeaway from that event was it really helps actually knowing people who are going to the event and speaking to people that have been before, not rocking up 10 minutes before the event starts and trying to set up. But just just trying to prepare when you have no idea what to prepare for is a very difficult thing to do, and I think I still have that issue to this day. One with actually getting there on time, but that's due to other unrelated issues, and the second one is just what do you bring? So
Well, that's a good segue into the next bit. What do you bring? Um, what's your layout? Like, how do you approach that event? Like the leading up to it. Like, how many books do you order? Like QR codes, side merch, or whatever. Like, what is your approach that you found to be really effective with your setup?
With mine, again, I haven't actually done any actual book events, but I do a lot of car shows, and I always put my books on display at these car shows, and I get quite a lot of in-person sales at them. Um, but my setup for my books is my hardcover as my central piece, and then I'll have a pile of my paperbacks, a QR code to my author website or to the actual books listing, whether that be Booktopia, Dimmix, or Amazon, and and then I'll have a magazine article which I'll have out and open so people can read about the book in the magazine. So, but other than that, I usually settle that in amongst everything else I'm doing at the event. It helps to have things that draw people in towards what you're actually looking at. Having other books by other authors, even if they're not for sale, things that they're like, has been a big draw card for a lot of people to actually look at my books as opposed to my cars, which are the main feature of what I do. And just my background, I do a lot of car shows with like actual big public displays with about 40,000-50,000 people going to them. So
Nice.
Well, because there's always that chance that I'm assuming, because I've never been to a car show, I should, um, but of people getting dragged along that don't want to be there, and then oh, books, like not expecting to see it, so that in itself would draw you to it.
yeah, something different. So like I've sort of do the black sheep thing with my car. I drive one of the most universally hated cars of its time. And I run a website tracking these things and everything. So I have a link to my own website on there. And sorry, not trying to self-promote this particular thing or anything like that again, but it does attract people because it's being different and breaking the model of what's standard. Again, I haven't been to a lot of book shows, so I can't say this in person. I plan to do a supernova in a year or two time,
Cool.
um, but having something different from what everyone else is looking at. If you're walking down, I know I would assume if you're walking down a fantasy aisle and every single stall is the same with fantasy novels or everyone's got 3D printed dragons on their desk and everything. Like there's only so many times you can look at something like that, and having something that breaks up the monotonous same stall every single time, giving
Yeah,
yourself something unique to actually look at. I think that goes a long way.
cool. Anyone else setups? Jesse?
Um, I touched on it a moment ago, but you have to bring essentials, and you have to plan this like you're however many hours you have. You have to plan like you're stuck in that booth for that many hours. So if you have a 3-day show and it's 12 hours a day, you have to plan for being in that booth for 12 hours. So, if you have any kind of blood sugar issues, if you get dehydrated easily, if you have, you can't hold it for more than 4 and you got to go to the bathroom, you have to have plans in place and equipment with you to deal with all of that. So bringing your books is going to be like that's going to be a practice kind of deal. You're going to have to go to a show and see, is this a vendor con where everybody comes to buy specifically from the vendors? Is this a party con where everybody's parties all night and no one shows up until 2 p.m. And there's not really a big rush to get there, early in the morning. And that it takes either talking to somebody who's been there before or scoping the show out before you do it. Uh, and from that will let you judge stuff like inventory, when you need to be there, what you need to do. But a couple things Zach really nailed: an attention getter, something small, something besides books, something that shows your personality. I don't have him because I'm not home, but I have Blitz, and Blitz is a little shoulder dragon that he attaches with magnets and just sits right on my shoulder. I have an author uniform. I wear the same hat to every single show. I wear the same necklace, my tattoos, my jewelry. It's all me flexing my personality. And you need to have something in your booth that flexes that personality too, because people are going to see that, they're going to gravitate to it, and that's going to grab people that you wouldn't otherwise grab. And if you can sell something small, cool dragon bookmarks off Amazon, anything like that, and have them for $1 or whatever, they're like 25 cents. A lot of people will come through and they will buy that dollar knickknack off of you because they enjoyed the conversation with you, even if they don't want to invest the money in a book. So attention grabbers. I have a buddy who uses the leather working armor that he does. My last show was Jordan Con here in Atlanta, and I picked up my painting for the special edition cover of the book. So I had that propped up on an easel right at my booth, so everybody could see that big, beautiful piece of artwork. And those things are wonderful. That's all great stuff to bring.
Anyone else?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
But our setup it's going to be dependent on the type of event we do, but it's probably going to be pretty different because I also hand paint miniatures, and so we bring those to conventions, everything from like Warhammer to like classic D&D stuff. So I've literally got hundreds of miniatures that I painted, and people will like they will draw attention. And people will come and they will like kneel down and they will look at them for long periods of time. and not they won't always buy a mini, but it definitely brings people to the table because it's something different that no one else has. And it may actually lead to a book sale. It has, because I always people come to look at the minis and then we can end up in a conversation about the books as well. So definitely having something different is good. As long as it can bring them to the table. Because I mean, they can feast their eyes on it from afar, but ideally it's something that not just draws their eyes, but actually brings them to the table to have a conversation. Obviously books. We've got, I say they, I think the consensus is, and I do agree, you don't want to just lay books flat. You can have some flat, but you do want to have some elevation to your setup. So we do have a tiered stand that we use to display some books. And then we also have displays they give the sort of like, not exactly a back blur, but like a description of, we do one for the standalone and one for book one in the trilogy. And if someone wants to know more about the other 2 books in the trilogy, we can, but warnings on, we can tell you about the other 2 books, but I mean, spoilers, serious spoilers. If you don't. So I think those are the two main things. We do bring minis, which I think it goes into what was said about bringing something different. And then I recommend elevation. We don't put prices. It was actually recommended to us that we don't put prices. A lot of people have signs for prices. We don't, because we've found it was recommended to us. I don't know if you heard of Richard Fierce. I met him at a convention. He does a lot of events. He's very experienced. He'll tell you he sells 6 figures a year. So he's a professional. He has a full-time job, but he also sells a lot of books. Particularly ebooks. So he's experienced, and he actually we used to sell our books for 15, the paperbacks for 15. He came over and says, "You guys need to raise your price to 20." So we sell our paperbacks at 20, and no one bats an eye at the increase in price. And then not having our prices means that if someone is interested, they have to engage with us. They can't just walk up, look at our prices, and walk away. They actually have to interact with us, which I think is actually beneficial. Something we do that is not part of the setup per se, but we do have a book in front of, I mentioned we have the display for book one and the standalone. We put a book in front of it. And when people come up, we encourage them to pick it up. He recommended that if we can, when we start to talk about a book with someone, you actually hand them a book, get it into their hands, because psychologically they're more likely to purchase it. That's not always possible, but we do recommend. If we can't do that, then we do recommend. We have the book right there in front of the display with the description. We recommend they pick it up. Hey, feel free to pick it up and take a look at it, because some people will just kind of like stand from afar and just kind of read it. And there is definitely something that happens when the book is in their hand. So make it so that it is connected to setup, because make it so that it's easy for them to pick up. If your setup is such that your books are displayed in a way that they feel like they're going to knock something over, then they're a lot less likely to pick it up, and you want them to pick it up. So have your setup so that it's easy for them to grab it and turn it over and open up the pages and see that beautiful map you have inside or whatever it is you got.
Yeah, there's always something about holding a book.
Yeah. I'm a massive digital reader. I do all my reading digitally because I have so many books, and as the people who have been on our podcast know, there's a 99.9% chance that I will buy your book if you're on the, after having a chat with you, because, I want to support. So I have in total, probably about 400 books on my tablet. But exactly what you're saying, like if I really love a book, I will always order a hard copy of it, because there's nothing like picking up a book and just, especially if the cover's beautiful. I love the smell of the book, like the smell of the pages, especially as that goes through time. There's nothing like opening up a 20-year-old book and having that smell. It's all about nostalgia as well. And just having that bookshelf and being able to go look at my literary world that I can jump into anytime I want. It's just every show that I've been to, if I pick up a book and I hold it, I pretty much buy it. So I can definitely agree with that.
Awesome. Jessica, what is your setup, your market setup?
So it's been a learning experience. I've picked up different ideas from different folks as I've come along. So the first thing I did was get a bunch of miscellaneous little dragon stickers from a giant roll. And I was told that was great to attract little children, and then to make them the variety packs, so they have to pick through to get the one that they want. And then that gives you time to talk with their parents. I've definitely done I started originally when I had so many books, with just a tabletop display, and I had them kind of lined up in front of me, but now I've gone with the vertical height thing to have more space. I ended up getting other things, like I make bath bombs that I bring. So I've sold those to old ladies, like they're dragon egg shape, and they have a little dragon toy in them, and old ladies will buy them because they smell nice. And it gets other interesting things. I'm actually having my mom make quilted book koozies for some of the more crafty events that we're going to this summer.
That's awesome.
So you have like a book sleeve or a Kindle sleeve, which I thought was a neat idea for getting people there. I printed up my maps, because apparently people just buy fantasy maps. And I have prints of the cover images that you could buy as well. And then I'm getting stickers made for the characters and their dragons. So I actually had my niece make me these little chibi drawings of the characters with their dragon. And I have 5 of those now that I've ordered stickers for, and I figure I can sell those for a couple dollars each and just get something small and transactional there. But I've added things as I went. I just brought books, and then it was okay, well, I had books and stickers, and it was okay, then what else can I have as a value add? Again, because not everybody maybe wants a book, but I might be able to talk to them and get them into something else, because this point, it's like I just want to make my table fee. So like I want books in people's hands, but I also want to make this event worth my time. So like let's not just waste money on it. So if I can get other things that attract other people or other types of buyers, then I feel like that's a better idea.
Yeah, it's a really good idea having something there for the kids that keep them there. It's like, I'm thinking like maybe like a maze or something you can really trap them.
Yeah.
Like that'll be fine. They'll be out in a second anyway. My book. That's cool. All right. Does anyone have any success stories that they want to tell? Like an event they went to where it turned out way better than you thought it would be.
Yeah, I can start us
Yep.
off on that if you like. Our first Ren Fair. Now we do the minis, and a lot of people who go, they like D&D, they like to role play, they like to dress up. It draws a lot of people to a Ren Fair. And then our books have dragons and magic. So it's very, very themed to a Renaissance festival kind of thing. So we did a Ren Fair for the first time, and the turnout was, I would say, not. It didn't look like there were a lot. The weather wasn't great. It didn't seem like there were a lot of people there. It was actually kind of difficult to get to the event. You had to park in a parking lot that was like 2 miles away, and then get shuttled. And they only had so many shuttles. It was like people had to keep getting. It was. I didn't expect it to go well, but it ended up being our best event. When you like, we did I told you about the fanboy, and that was 3 days, and we paid less money for the 2-day event and did more in sales, with a lot fewer people. I mean, like a lot fewer. Fanboy had many thousands, and this Ren Fair had a fraction of that, and yet we did better sales there than we did at Fanboy. And that's like I said before, like it's important you find where it is that your book sells, because you can maximize, like Jessica was saying, you want to make your table, you want to make it worth your while, and you really have to try and find ways to maximize what you're getting out of it. Fewer days, because the more time you spend, if you've got to travel and it ends up being 5 days because you got to travel and get back because you're going to a big con, you got to factor all that. If you have vacation to use, okay, well that's a cost, and if you're missing work, that's a cost, right? Yeah. It may not be a direct cost, but you're still missing work. All those things have to. I mean, this is a business, so unless you have a lot of expendable income, you got to think of it like a business, and you got to calculate those costs. So try and experiment and find those that may fit better into your whatever it is that you're selling. It's not going to be the same because we write different things. Like horror may not do as well at a Ren Fair, but who knows? Maybe you have a big community in your area that loves horror. So you gotta find what works. But that what I would say, we figured out that Ren Fairs do quite well, and so our first out of state event is going to be in North Carolina. We're going to Norse Forge Gathering 6, and
Nice.
It's a 3-day event, and we've got high hopes. Hopefully, not too high. So,
success stories. That's what we're talking. Yes, Jesse.
I want to tag in because I wanted to definitely second the cost factor on this. This is one of the highest cost to profit ratio businesses I've ever participated in. I had less input. It took me less time to be a world champion powerlifter than it has for me to be an indie author. Like it's the amount of work, the amount of money you have to put into this. To put that off, if you are ready, and so I tell people, like, this ties in with everything, success stories and everything like that. Bring your whole booth with you anytime you go to an event, even if you're not boothing the event. Be prepared. Even when you're not supposed to be doing something. If you're like, oh, I'm just going to go to this show and I'm going because I'm a fan, or oh, I'm just going, have some books on you, have your banner or whatever you're using. Because my success story is I went to a show thinking that I was just going to help a friend out. And we got there and got set up. It was James Pittman with the Crowded Shelf, and he was doing a little mini where he sells other people's books too. All the indie authors get together, you throw it in on consignment, and if you can't make it, somebody's at least at the show selling your book. And so I went to help out. I was going to have my books on the shelf, but I didn't have my own table. I didn't have anything. But I thought, you know what, just in case, I'm going to bring everything. We get there, and a buddy of mine who's a fantastic painter, he couldn't make the show, but he'd already bought a table. And he couldn't make the show. Literally, his car had malfunctions, getting ready to go, getting ready to leave. So I went over to the lady that ran the show and said, hey, like, I know that table was intended for this person. This person is not going to make it. Can I give you the money and me take the table instead? And she looked at me and said, you know what? Show's already kicked off. You're already here. I was doing some panels. I just didn't have a table. You're already doing some panels. And that's another thing. Do panels. Get in front of people. Anyway, I'll touch on that in a second. But it was a last minute, like, hey, yeah, sure. And she said, hey, don't even worry about the booth fee. Just take the table. And so me not planning on really doing any of that, I literally grabbed some gaffer's tape and just taped up my banner and threw some books out on the table. And, you know, of course, when you're not planning on doing it, you forget stuff. So I forgot my book stands. I forgot, you know, I was not as prepared as I would have liked to have been. But there was a couple $100 worth of books gone at the end of it all. Because I was on the panels and I was something new that hadn't been at that show before. Nobody'd come by, and they got to hear me and see me talk and get used to me on the panels, and then come by and buy a book. So, you know, always a lot of authors, despite what we're talking about, they're introverted, and you have to push that to the back. You've got to figure out some kind of way to say, if I am at a show, if it is appropriate, if I'm at any event and it makes sense, I need to be willing to sell my book. You have to be a legal drug dealer to do this. You have to be willing to push, and you have to treat it in a very similar manner. Like, oh, hey, that's a good segue. You want a free sample of this book? Like, that's the way that it has to be all the time. You have to sell all the time, no matter when you feel bad or anything like that.
We need to bring back the trench coats with the book with the stuff inside, where you just open it up and go, "Hello, would you like to buy a book?"
Exactly.
So that in your cloak pocket.
Zach, you've got a success story, maybe a car show where you're just like, well, check out these books.
Look, I've got I'd say I've definitely got success stories at car shows, but they haven't been books. They've been trophies that were unexpected. But no, I'd say I've not a success story, but something to point out is I think there's a big difference between Australian conventions and conventions in the United States. And I don't have a lot of experience going and attending to them. I've done a couple of supernovas. I did Wollongong Comic Con and a few other things like that. But I have sent books overseas to. I think I had some at Dragon Con last year in the United States, and one thing, especially if you're going to send your books to another author's booth, to keep in mind is people go around and collect signed copies of books. So if you are having someone else represent your books at the table, and it was just a logistical thing, I wasn't able to make it happen. But people coming around and collecting books from authors that have been physically signed, and I think that every single time that I've spoken to someone who's done that and had someone else represent their books, they've sold copies.
And I suppose if you're sending it overseas all that way, it's worth signing it, you know. All right, Jessica, success stories.
I mean, I mentioned earlier that, you know, yeah, I had a lot of success at the farmers markets that I went to, which was surprising. Like I went to a Comic-Con, I went to on a writers convention, and both of those I did okay. Like I made the table fee, so I'd consider that a success, right? But
Yeah.
I didn't make much more than that. They weren't really the right audience, I would say, but like locally, I was just amazed at how much people locally wanted to support somebody that they knew was local. I had libraries come over and say, "Oh, would you like to talk?" Like they start to talk to me and ask if I'd be interested in speaking at a library. So now I've got signed up for an event where I'm going to speak at a library about writing. I have somebody that wanted to write an article in the newspaper about me because she picked up my book on a lark and was like, "It's not usually my thing, but I started it and I really like this. And, would you like to be featured in a news story for the local paper?" And it's like, there, I don't know why I was surprised, but there's a lot of enthusiasm if you can get yourself in front of people in a local area that they want to support you and they're interested in you. And if you can pitch that first, that they will sell to you. So again, I did really well. Again, $20 table fee. It's hard to not make your table. Now I will say I bought the popcorn from the kettle corn place, and then the my son
You
bought
went
some
in the
rocks from the
hole.
rock vendor. So I'm sure we didn't probably come out on top of that, but yeah, it was also very positive because I could go to that more than once, and then you'd have people come back. So it's like I'm there a couple weeks a month over the summer, and somebody might buy books 1 and 2, and then they'd come back and they'd want to read the rest of them. Or maybe they read the whole series and they're like, "When are you writing a new one? Like, do you have new ones coming out?" And that was just really rewarding. So it's fun to have the same local crowd that kind of revisits those types of events if you can get into that type of thing.
Yeah, cool. Let's flip the script a little bit and ask Ryan a question. As the reader, as the man that rolls on through markets or bookshops, like what stands out to you? Like if you were shopping.
Yeah. Me personally, it's all about the author. It's all about the person behind the book. Like you can have the best cover or best display or best anything, but which will essentially draw me in, but if I can't have that conversation and build that rapport with someone, um, that that's more than likely going to make me not want to buy the book. As you know, we've been doing this podcast for over 5 years now, and we do icebreakers at the beginning of each episode, and that's there for a reason, because we want to get to know you guys. We want to get to know the people behind the books that write the books, because I can tell if you're passionate about what you're doing from that conversation. And the same with in-person events. If I'm going to an in-person event, say, like a market or a con or something over here, I'm going to want to have that chat with you or the author and just build that rapport and find out about the world that's in the book. And then if we have that rapport and we have that conversation going, it's pretty much, I'm a pretty easy sell, as people know. I will primarily, if I have that conversation and I can see the passion, I'm more than likely going to support you, because indie books are amazing, and I want to support you guys as much as I can. But I do need to have that rapport. If I go up and say, "Oh, hi, how you going?" and do you want to tell me a little bit about your book? Yeah, that conversation is going to be the key to selling to me.
Nice. We should start hitting up cons with our icebreaker questions, just walking around to random authors and
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
that's what it is. Like I love the idea of Gustavo's minis having, the little Warhammer and D&D minis there. That would obviously draw me in and have that, because me and Jamie play D&D quite a bit. That would start a conversation.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Jessica having stuff there for the kids, just to keep them amused, so you can have that conversation with the parents and hopefully make that sale. Like all of these things are amazing ideas, But for me personally, it comes down to that conversation that I'm going to have with you, getting to know you, and then getting to know the world that you've built within the pages.
Excellent. All right, so let's get to a question from Mike Cahoon. He's been on the podcast before. He's a pretty active member in our Discord and on our socials. He's asking, what is the least effective marketing strategy you have ever seen? Whether you've done it yourself or just seen someone at a market trying to sell something, and you're just like, oh my gosh.
The hard sell.
Yeah.
Like, hey, over here.
Yeah.
Come on, you want some of this? And there's varying degrees of that. I mean, we were at the first con we were at, there was some ladies who were sharing a booth, and their specialty was the smut. And that I mean, that's what they had a little like a sign that said smut dealers. And they were like, "Hey, do you like smut?" Like as people were walking by, kind of like the drug dealer thing. We were just saying, and yeah, I was watching this at least, and I mean, the people that are interested in it are automatically going to be drawn to those very obvious covers.
Yeah.
But the people that aren't already drawn to it, it didn't work very well. People were like, "Oh no, I thank you," and just keep walking. So, but I'd say the hard sell is like the least effective tactic.
Yeah. Jesse?
I would argue that there is one tactic that is actually less effective than the hard sell, and I can even demonstrate it. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right.
I've seen this sales tactic so much.
Oh yeah, there you go.
You will not believe how many people, and don't get me wrong, I'm checking my phone because I got family stuff going, but like, you would not believe how many people I have seen at a show pay $500 to be there, to sit behind their booth and fart around on their phone because they're tired, or they're too much of an introvert, or people are scary. You have to treat this like the mad scientist in the lab. You have to be ecstatically excited about your product and selling your product. Ryan highlights a perfect point. I tell people, someone reading your book, an end user, from the end user experience, they talked about this all the time when I was in corporate, end user experience. From the reader's side of the aisle, them sitting down and reading your work is the last step in this process. You have to write it, edit it, cover it, get it on the market, get it sold. They have to hand you the money before they enjoy the product. And for some reason, people just forget that, and they just sit there because it's a personal brand. You're selling, you're not really, honestly, you're barely selling the book. You're selling who you are. You're selling a piece of your personality, a piece of your love. So I wear all those things on my shoulder. The heavy metal, the guns, the tattoos, the Thor's hammer around my neck. That's me. If you like any of these things, then you're going to enjoy what I produce. But yeah, people kill me, man, farting around on their phones or trying to write a novel while they're sitting there at the booth selling their novels. Like, no, this is not. I mean, if we're slow, if it's Christmas, just dead, if nothing's happening, I get it. Okay, make use of your time. If there's nobody that you haven't seen that you don't recognize, just walk by in 30 minutes, by all means, take care of business. But if there's people coming by the booth and looking and glancing and smiling, whatever, you need to get up on your feet, not be sitting down unless you have a medical condition, and interact with those people. And I'd rather see you, hey kid, want that book? Like, I'd rather see you doing that than just pretending like the world doesn't exist.
Hey kid, do you like smut?
You've hit the nail on the head there, man. That is the biggest turn off as a reader for me. And it might just be me showing my old age. I'm 44. I'm, getting close to being that old grandpa sitting on the front porch saying, "Get off my lawn." But I honestly walk past. It's happened so many times at so many different events, even small events in a local library or at a local place, that where there's say 5 or 6 authors there at a small event, and one of them is just sitting there on their phone, and I'm just like, I have no interest. I have zero interest in going over to that booth. And like you said, if they may be introverted, they may be nervous and all that kind of thing. I get it, but for me personally, if you're on your phone or for an extended period of time, because we know you can do sales with apps for paying by card and stuff on your phone. That's cool for sure. But if you're sitting there just on Facebook or Instagram and just not responding to people that are asking for your books, but just scrolling, it's like there's a high chance I'm not even going to come over and talk, because I see, one, I'm very conscious. I think, oh, I'm going to bother that person because they're scrolling, they're on the phone all the time. I don't want to bother them. And two, that it doesn't seem like they're there to sell themselves, like you say. And Jesse is 100% right. Like, as what I said, it's all about the person. The book is just there, and if I like you and we get along and you're passionate, I'm going to buy it, 100%. I'll pay. And as Jamie knows, I'm the kind of person, I will pay for the hardcover. I will pay. I've got Jamie's first book. I think I've got like 6 different copies of it. Because I bought the digital, I bought the book, I bought, when the new cover came out. I'm one of those people. I'm a collector. So I will. If I like you and your stuff and I've got the money, I can drop $100 on a couple of different copies of your books and stuff like that. Like, it's just, you have to be personable, and you have to have that passion and be engaging.
So we'll go Zach this time because he's.
Oh yeah, sure.
Sorry. Yeah, no, look, Ryan and Jesse are both right, and I'd say that's the same for any event. It doesn't just go for author stuff, and actually being engaged and passionate. And the other thing too, understanding what you're talking about. But I think there's an underlying thing here, which it doesn't only extend to in-person events, but your online presence as well. You and look, I'll take a stab at X here, and I'm sure some of you understand my background and what I do on X, and my stance as well, where I'm very public about the books I review as well. And look, I can get sold a book, and I've been sold books before that I have personally been very disappointed and let down by. And that goes to, if you're at a convention or a show, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're sitting there pandering to people, and and I have seen this at the Renaissance Fair out at Hawkesbury Racecourse. I'm hoping I can make my next sale today. Like, it just sends the wrong image, and like I see this all the time on X, and there's this pandering for that sympathy buy. Like, it makes me have absolutely no interest in not only what you're trying to sell, but you as a person as well. And then extending that through to your political or your religious beliefs. And look, I'm not taking a stab at Christian authors who have their very deep religious binding into a book, and it's part of who they actually are as a person. But like preaching, and it's preaching of politics, preaching of religion. People do this at car shows. like, oh yeah, hey, are you going to vote for this person because they're going to change this fuel tax or this levy and stuff like, man, I don't even want to look at your car anymore. Like, it just it absolutely baffles me that this is the way people go with their feelings and their beliefs and what they're trying to do with having a conversation. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right, Ryan. Like, getting out and being that person who's enthusiastic, who wants to actually talk about them. And Jesse, you're right. People, like, there's nothing worse than going to a restaurant and sitting down and seeing 10 kids sitting there on their phones and not being able to have an actual conversation with people. Like, it absolutely shits me. And like, yeah, I grew up in that phase in time where we had flip phones and Nokia 3210s, and I forgot mine. My one's still here on the desk, which I'm lucky I haven't actually broken the desk with it, because like it's just insane that we live in a world where people will step in front of a literal bus because they're engaged in their phone all the time. And look, I know I've been guilty of it. And obviously trying to have a conversation with a person and with someone who needs something at the same time. But it's when that's your whole figure, that's your whole image that you're projecting to people. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter. You could have the best cover in the world, the most amazing display, but if the person is not there and their heart is not in the moment, in what they're doing, the like what's that saying? Never meet your heroes. And I can understand that from one thing, but when you actually meet your hero and they want absolutely nothing to do with you, like it, especially when it's all about them. Like I can understand going and meeting an author who's very enthusiastic about their thing, but when they've got no time for you, that really counts for something.
Yeah.
Yep.
I met my hero a couple of years ago, Kevin Eastman, and he did not disappoint. Yeah. And he wanted a signed copy of my book, so that's a win for me. But Gustavo, you want to
Yeah, I agree with all of pretty much all that, making sure that you're standing up as much as possible and engaging. I actually wanted to take it one step further. My philosophy is some of these events can cost like $100 or more for them to be there for the day. I don't just want them to have a good experience if they interact with me. I want them to have like a genuinely great time going to the convention. And each of the vendors are part of that. If everyone is sitting at their table kind of sulking and waiting for someone to come up and buy something, that is not a good experience for someone who's paying $100 to be there for the day. And if they're bringing their family with them, they might have just dropped like $300, $400 on being there for the day. And I see it as a duty to make sure that they're having a good time, to interact with the kids and to interact with them and to engage with them. I mean, we've had conversations like over an hour with one person. So it can be it can be exhausting, particularly if you're not extroverted. If you're introverted and you have a conversation with someone for 1 hour, you might be toast. But it's still you can it's kind of a muscle, and if you're new to it, you'll just start small. Don't go to some 15,000 person convention. Do the farmers market if you have one, and work your way up and learn a process and learn your pitch for your book, so you're not stumbling over yourself. And you want to have a good time, but you want them to have a good time wherever it is. So,
yeah.
Jessica, have you got any terrible, marketing things that you've seen?
I mean, I agree with pretty much everything everybody said as far as like the disengage. It seems like the common denominator is that you are part of the package when you are in person selling. And if you are not somebody that somebody looks at and says that this is somebody that I like, they're not going to buy from you at the end of the day. They want to relate to you in some way. They want to feel like they have a connection with you. That's the benefit of buying direct from the author, is feeling an actual connection. It's like, I actually met this person. They signed my book. You go to all these conventions and you get these big named authors. You got Christopher Paolini like signing, hours long waits. People are waiting to talk to him for 5 seconds. It's like, you as an indie author, especially without, if they come up to your table, they're going to get more than 5 seconds. If they become a fan of your work, they, in theory, could have a more like real relationship, if you will, within that context. It's like they can come up and they can talk to you for 5 minutes. They can talk to you for 10 minutes. You can sign their book. They can have something that's, more personal, but at the same time, you have to be somebody that they want to have that with. And if you're disagreeable or you're slinging politics or you're staring at your phone and you're unhappy to be there and you're tired or you're sick or whatever, like you're not a lot of fun and nobody's going to want to come talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah, Zach?
Sorry, just one other one that I have witnessed recently, and look, everyone's got an opinion on this, and I don't want to sound controversial or jumping in here, but having people, when you go to a table, start talking to you about uh, um their stance on AI, like it's a massive turn off now. Anyone, like, you're physically at the table. I believe your stuff is that you created your stuff. Like, I have my own personal points of view and things like that, and I believe that's where it should stay. And I don't care what an author or an artist's point of view is on it. I'm there for their work, and I've taken the time to actually physically go up to the table. That will be something that will turn me away. I really don't care about the argument anymore.
Yeah. It does get a little intense.
Well, and the core of that is message, like message fiction. Message fiction only appeals to a very small market. I don't care what the message is. I don't like the messages I believe in. I don't like their message fiction. I got a nice big cross tattooed in my arm. I don't want to read Christian message fiction. It's not entertaining. Your themes, your deep rooted themes in your stories, yes, they're going to be what you believe in or don't believe in, or stances, or something. You're going to be painting a picture, right? So I don't believe my villains are right. That's why they're villains. But when you take the message fiction even one step further, you didn't even leave it in the book, you start bombarding people with it. And that can be anti AI. That could be how you feel about any political subject. That could be a religion. That could be orientation. It could be any of that. Make it, let you be you. Do not beat me over the head with any kind of evangelism whatsoever, or, I'm out. And that's how I personally believe most people feel is, man, I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to be entertained. And your book is going to be entertainment. I'm not here to get sucked into a debate or
Yeah.
to, even if I believe in the side that you're preaching, I just don't. That's not what we're here for right now.
100%.
I think if you're going to evangelize anything, evangelize your book. just the
Yeah.
book.
Like I would say, as an addition to that, if somebody comes to you and like expresses something, so I've had parents that have come up and they're like, they have a certain belief or like certain religious thing, and they ask you about it. That's an opportunity where you can slip in and say, like,
Yeah.
look, like, yes, this is, I don't have any kind of this. There's no swearing. There's no whatever. Like, you can start to relate to them and connect to them if they're expressing a certain concern or a specific leaning, or like, I don't want this. Do you have any of this? That's appropriate, but and to some degree you do want to tailor your audience, because if you are the lady looking for the smutty romance novel, like I'm not your person, like, so we're not gonna get along. Or you're not gonna enjoy it, so you do want to tailor, but yeah, don't lead with that stuff. Like, don't be
Yeah.
like political signs on your table and your MAGA hat and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, don't, you're gonna alienate people when you don't have to. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I have no problem if they express a certain concern or they're trying to see if I am aligned with something. Then I can open up and be a little more like if somebody comes up and is like, do you use are your covers AI, and they cared, like, okay, I'll have like, no, whatever.
Yeah.
But you don't have to lead with
And
that.
yeah, don't have to announce it. Yeah, Zach.
Sorry, I just got a question for you, Gustav. So obviously you bring your minis and things to your table, and sorry, I don't mean to segue into it. It's something a bit different, but like I do a lot of 3D printing. I 3D print little model cars and things like
Yeah, man.
that. But with regards to your books, do you 3D print your characters or any parts of the things? And do you find if you do or have things specifically for your book that do you get more attraction towards those things over your standard little minis?
So we don't currently 3D print our characters, but it's something I'm seriously considering because my wife went to an event, which by the way is amazing writing together because there's two of us, we can do double work. And she at that event there was a lady who does comic books, but she does a lot of merchandise around the comic books as well. That's like the biggest thing that she does is the merchandise around the comic books, and she runs a Kickstarter monthly for this comic book. And she has a character in the comic book that she had modeled, and she has a 3D print, and it's probably about this big. And so I got a commission to paint it, and she's thinking about doing a bunch of them and selling them as part of the Kickstarter, or at least having a model painted so that they can see what it would look like to have a model painted. So that is an inspiration to, like, when I saw her character come off the comic book cover and like now she has something that's physical she can sell. Because I can't tell you how many times people have come up to the table and looked at the minis and said, "Are these all the characters from your books?" And I'm like, "No, these are just like a whole bunch of different things. This is Warhammer. It's not from our book." Or like, "This is a Frost Giant from like straight out of the D&D, monster manual." But yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's just it's something I'm looking at doing because I'm going right into the thing like you said, doing all the characters from the book. I've had the actual artwork from one of mine done up on a big canvas print
Very
and
cool.
all that. So
Nice.
Yeah, man.
I'll put that into the Discord chat so you can see. But like I've got 45 characters in my current series that I'm working on, and like I've had posters done up and everything. Like I think that one cost me 500 US, so nearly 1,000 Australian. So
I would say 100% do it. I would,
yeah.
if you can affordably get the 3D prints, I would do it 100%.
Yeah, oh no, I do it all myself. Like as you can see behind
Yeah.
me, I run a 3D print farm and print car parts, but it's like just another option that
Yeah.
I've got an avenue I was looking at, and that actually is valuable feedback that people are coming up and asking you, are these the characters from your book? Like I've experimented with a couple of designs. I did this one for my kids, just a little thing from one thing because they muck around with stuff and that broke, but they're always playing with like the model cars and other things. Like that's a full 3D printed model of one of my cars, and I had to go and design it all, but like just finding stuff that's not going to break when people touch it and have them understand that this is a static display and not a toy is the hardest part.
I wouldn't worry about that so much unless
Yeah.
it's young kids.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who instinctively will not pick them up. I have
Yes.
to tell them you're welcome to pick it up because I have so many minis. They take up a good portion of the table, and they
Yeah.
end up squatting down and just they're sitting there squatting down looking at them, which is really uncomfortable. And like, you can pick them up, it's totally fine. I mean, everything's painted, but it's also varnished, so unless they're like really going at it, they're not gonna hurt the mini. I mean, one person did drop it and break it, but he bought it, so what are you gonna do? I actually fixed it for him because I had super glue. But yeah, definitely do it. But if you can get if you model it yourself, I would definitely recommend getting your characters and bring them, because I do think they will be a conversation starter at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe I've had the conversation starters. I've had someone actually rock up at my front door from from things that had to call the police because they're a bit funny. But yeah, that was an interesting experience. And that's why I now have a pen name. I learned that one very early on.
Yeah. Now you got my brain ranking because I think I got to get some 3D printed emus for my Emu War book because I think that would sell.
Yeah.
I may have some
Guaranteed.
models. Like, I may have some models. I'll try. I'll see if I can run some off, and I'll drop them in here one day because we only work a kilometer from each other. So
Yeah, that's such a spin out. Like we live drastically far away, but the work point is the middle. Yeah,
yeah, I got a 60-mile commute every day.
yeah. Mine's only 40. Yeah,
Only 40.
yeah. Well, it's like a 45-minute drive for me.
His driveway is
Okay.
20.
Yeah, and ironically, I work in a town called Emu Plains. I just can't escape them. But I guess on that topic of not just books but other things. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the other things that you find sell really well at a market alongside your book? If anyone's got something.
I will. It's not a thing, but I want to ask a question.
Mhm.
Has anyone else who's done events experienced the surprise when you tell them, like, we have a sign. We made a sign because people would come up and I'd say, "Oh, I hand painted the minis." You painted those? And then I always follow it up with, "Yes," and my wife and I wrote the books together. And they're like, "You wrote the books?"
Mm.
And I can't tell you how many people express. I mean, we're literally in an aisle of authors.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, didn't everyone write the books? Right? Like, I would think that it's like totally obvious, but it's like the number of people that are surprised. So I would say, if they don't ask, mention it. "Oh yeah, but I wrote this. This is do it. You don't have to do it like obnoxiously, like I wrote these books, but you could say something like, "Oh, this over here is my first trilogy," and that way it's a way of the implication there is you wrote it. But if you're local, have maybe like a one sheet with a headshot and like local author, because I think that will help you sell. Like Jessica said earlier, people do like to support local people and all kinds of stuff, not just authors. And if you're in a place where they might not assume that you wrote them, for some reason, a lot of people think you're just selling other people's books, which some people do. That's fair. And some of you guys have mentioned selling other people's books or having your book sold by other people. But making sure that they know that you wrote them, I think can make a big difference in your sales.
Yeah.
I will say that I've sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I've absolutely picked up, "Hi, I'm Jesse and I write stuff." And that is surprisingly successful because I guess people have gotten used to the idea that sometimes somebody else is working the booth. So it's like, "Yeah, hi, I'm Jesse. I wrote this," is, very simple. But yeah, Jessica, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have done especially at the farmers markets. If somebody gives me eyeballs, I say I wrote these myself, and then usually they're like, "Oh, really?" And then they'll come over.
Yeah.
More likely to come over and talk to you.
So it's a common experience.
Yeah. I'm working towards doing my first real event. So I guess this is my secret way of getting tips and advice and
That's
what
what
doing.
it is.
That's what it is. No, but it's all at the same time it's also a very popular thing that people talk about. But I'm nearly there. The problem is I have 5 books. So it's deciding. I don't know I know what the bestseller is going to be, but I don't know what other books how they'll sell. But
It'll get you, man. It'll like, you'll think like, "Oh, well, this is the one." So because this might be a cool topic. It might not be. I don't know. But there's a difference between in person and online.
Yeah.
For covers, for all of it. So I wrote for a anthology called War Hamster, and it has this cute little hamster in armor on the front of the antho. And then I wrote another antho and edited it. It's Bio Bedlam, and it has this really cool, like, biologically modified shark on the cover. And I love that cover, man. I thought, like, it's one of my favorite covers out of all the anthos that I'm in. The shark does well online because it looks good in the thumbnail. War Hamster does nothing almost online. However, I cannot go to a show without it because every single person that enjoys cute animals takes one look at it and goes, "You have to tell me what that is." And there's so many people that read like Redwall. So I tell people take at least 5 copies of everything, because you're going to show up to a show thinking like, "Oh, I haven't sold any of my mill sci-fi at all for 3 shows. It just doesn't sell. And then you show up to this one show and sell out. So,
Yeah.
bring at least a little bit of everything
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, Zach.
Sorry, Warhamster Tales Untold.
Yep.
Cool. Added to my reading list. I'm actually looking for this specific genre, and I'm reviewing in this genre. Yeah. No. Okay. Sorry. And again, off. Xenofiction, just as a genre, you probably understand exactly where I'm going with this. There is so much negative stigma and things associated with anthropomorphic characters and things like that. So I'm trying to actively sort out and find these. So you've just sold me a copy straight off that. But sorry, back to the cover discussion, and I know this is going way off. Okay, I 100% get where you're going with you're talking about the cover online and stuff. Again, going back to exactly what that does. I've essentially got 2 covers for Ellie, and my decision with going with and I'm not trying to plug here, just using it as an example.
No plug.
I know if you've got a copy of Warhamster there or anything like that you can hold up. So
I'm sadly
So,
I'm not at
yeah.
the house.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just use there you go. Jade's holding up. So, so the reason behind going with that design and going with the cover choice behind that, as opposed to an actual picture of Ellie, which I used for my marketing, which I drew myself and hosted on X, which blew up and got heaps, was the choice you make in your cover and what's going to draw people in. If you have a picture of a hamster in armor, which you've got currently, which I could see on the screen, I know straight away you alienate half your audience straight off the cover. They don't care what's in there. They see it as a children's book or furry fiction. And I don't mean that as a stigma or a knock, because I write the same genre. But your cover choice, and it's okay to have more than one cover for the book. You can have second editions with different covers and things like that. But your cover choice and what you put out for your online material, as opposed to what your in-person material is gonna in my opinion, is gonna drastically change who your audience is and how they look at your novels straight off the bat. And you could probably go with a more Redwall-esque kind of cover, which is sort of what I did with Ellie, went that simple sort of look with it, to draw people in from your online audience, because Warhamster as a title is an awesome title, and I have no idea what that actually is straight off the mark, as opposed to now I see the cover, I can see the little hamster in armor and things like that. I'm thinking, yeah, that's cool. That's the kind of stuff I want to read. But you are going to alienate authors just based on your cover alone. Oh, sorry, readers just based on your cover alone. Again, going back to what their opinions and things are, you want to sell them the book through the cover. And I think this goes back to your would I read this cover videos that you guys do, is the cover was an image is worth 1,000 words, and we commonly say we don't judge a book by a cover, but everyone does. And it's not the cover, but it's your display, what you're trying to sell. But I think that making a creative choice in your cover, and look, it's opinionated on who's going on what people are going to say to how your cover is perceived, then making a choice that appeals to a lot, as opposed to just you, like the creative choice. I completely understand why you've gone with that with the cover. It sells it. But again, straight off me, is it a YA novel?
So
More adult.
So it's definitely meant to be family friendly. It
Yep.
is an antho. It is a small press release, so I
Yep.
personally didn't get to make some of the choices. Uh, they did not inform me that it was family friendly when I wrote it. So it actually had to have some edits because my opening line was, "I've been searching most of my life for something to say when fuck you doesn't cut it."
Yeah.
So
And that comes back to my point of I see that, and look, I understand now you had to make edits for it because it's family friendly. But
Yeah.
that said, I see that straight away. I think YA and kids and stuff like that, and having a cover like that and things like that, and I won't say the name of the novel, and I'm not gonna knock it down, but one of the ones that I read, the cover and the way it was written felt YA and had some very, very confronting very adult moments in the book, but it read like YA. And that, like, that's another thing that would put me off reading someone else's work. Sorry, and I'm getting way off track with the conversation here and all the rest of it. But like, yeah, I think it going back to the whole show, it's not only you as your projection, but your covers say a lot about you and your work as well.
Yeah. Cool. So anyone else got any other things that they can sell alongside their books or on that theme before we move to the last pretty much topic?
I think you just
I think
pair
I
it
said-
to.
Oh. Go,
Just
Jessica.
pair
We like
what
to
you're-
talk over the just, yeah.
It's just
That's
the Jays. It's just the Jays.
We're just gonna talk over each other. I was gonna say I think I've outlined most of what I was trying. So
Yeah.
I've done maps, I've done prints, I'm trying these quilted covers, I'm bath bombs and stickers. So I'm trying to all sorts of different things as far as like what sells. It's mostly I'm selling books by and large. I haven't had too many other live events. I guess I'll get a better idea this summer as far as what starts moving or what really gives me any bang here.
I've just got this image now of old ladies in bubble baths with playing with dragons. Like that's just yeah.
Blood
Jesse,
and dragon egg. I did have to warn her that the there was a little piece in there, and she was like, "Thank you for letting me know that there would be a toy."
yeah, Jesse, you were saying before.
Oh, you need to pair it to either the content or the vibe of your book.
Yeah.
So it would be really weird to show up with a cool set of leather armor and you write military sci-fi.
Yeah.
And everybody's in, modern gear. So I have dragon anthologies. Dragons feature prominently as either bad guys, good guys, whatever, in a lot of the stories that I write. So I brought dragon bookmarks, dragon stickers, things like that. I wear a dragon on my shoulder. I do something related to one of the vibes you're trying to give off. Do something related to that. Make everything consistent, and that will help pull the proper audience to you.
Cool. All right, last topic I will give. This is a wrap-up question, I guess we can say. One piece of advice you would give to someone who's going to get into in-person events. Yeah, Jesse?
You're going to screw up. It's going to happen. You're going to, your first couple shows in general, you're going to forget something. You're going to need something you didn't have. You're going to have to ask somebody for help. And you should be in a place where your neighbors are hopefully going to assist in all of that. Networking is as important at a live event as your sales are. I don't know how many times tonight we said talk to people. But you are there to make connections. I have walked into a show, barely sold anything, but left with 2 sold stories. Where it's like, oh yeah, man, that sounds awesome. Send it to me. Because there's going to be publishers there, there's editors there, there's cover artists there. All these people are there, all the people you need to know. And they're just like your readers. They are going to get to know you. They're going to desire the skills, the talents, the feels that you have. the next time someone says, hey, I know this guy writes crazy action and I want a crazy action story. I've literally gotten text messages and phone calls saying, hey man, I'm doing this kind of thing. Send me a story. Let's get it, let's make it happen because of that. So know you're going to screw up. Don't be afraid to experiment. It's going to cost time. It's going to cost effort. It's going to cost money. Just be prepared for all those things. Treat it, like I said, treat it like a mad scientist. Cackle as your experiments blow up in your face, because eventually you're going to find the right one.
Cool. Gustavo?
I would say try to set realistic expectations, which is difficult when you're inexperienced. But don't set your goals too high. Start small. Try not to be discouraged. It could be you've done all the right things, you made those connections, and you've talked to people. And we experienced this at an event where it was the second year for the event, and it was like we did several local events, and everyone was like, "Hey, this one's coming up. You got to go to this thing." It was great, and it wasn't. But it wasn't anything wrong with the event per se. It was, I live in Knoxville, and it was a UT Georgia game, and everyone and their mother and cousin is going to go to the football game. And so that Saturday was just absolutely dead. I mean, there were so few people there. By the halfway through Sunday, it was going so slow that halfway through Sunday, we already had vendors leaving, which don't leave early. Don't be that person, even if it's discouraging. And that they stopped charging to get into the event. They were like, so many vendors had left, just come in. So set your expectations, set realistic expectations. Try to do events that you can make table. It's hard to predict that. And as time goes on, you can say, okay, there's going to probably be around this many people. I can hopefully get around this number of sales and make this amount of money, and then I can at least do what I need to do to make it worth my time. But don't expect that you're going to go in and you're going to sell 100 copies your first time. It's probably not going to happen. If it happens, awesome. I'm really happy for you. But you might not sell much. Don't give up. There are a lot of other opportunities. Panels has been mentioned. Networking has been mentioned. I just did a book fair where I was invited by one of the organizers, asked me if I wanted to interview James Dashner. I don't know if you guys are familiar with James Dashner. He's the author of the Maze Runner series.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yep.
And I got to go on stage and interview him just because I was going to the event.
Wow.
I didn't do anything. I didn't even know the organizers. They were just like, hey, we're looking for someone. Are you interested? Yeah, I'll do it. And so if you're not there, then those opportunities can't happen. Yeah. So go try to find the ones that fit into your budget, that fit into the time that you have. But go start small, work up, have realistic expectations.
Awesome. Jessica?
I was going to say, start small. Don't necessarily pick the most expensive con, dropping hundreds of dollars on a table if you don't know what you're doing. I would say get the kinks out at the smallest thing that you can find. So that might be a craft store a craft show at a local church or something. Like, just find something with a small table fee, get your display set up, practice your pitch on people, where your table fee is $20 or $30 or $40 and not $300, because depending on, you might sell significantly more books because you have 10,000 people running through a con that costs $300 for a weekend, but you might have no idea what you're doing. And so it's better to do it 4 hours at a farmer's market for $25 than it is for anything like that. So definitely start small, get the kinks out, work your way up, and that would be my advice.
Cool. Zach?
Sorry, just don't do it next to the ladies with the erotica. Sorry. My advice would be, ask yourself the question before you even consider going to the event is what are my goals? Have a goal for the event. If your goal is exposure, then the table fee is irrelevant. You're going for the experience, you're going for the exposure, you're going to understand what it is. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway. The other thing is, yeah, don't. I'm not trying to steal your thunder about being on the phone or anything like that, because I know that's probably the big one is, but take a charging brick for your phone because you're gonna need it, and like that's the biggest thing I found with doing car shows and animal events is your phone's gonna go flat. You're gonna need it, whether or not that be for contact information or anything like that, or even just to use as a GPS to get home or get out of the place. Your phone's going to go flat, and you can't rely on there being power sources at any event. So taking charging bricks, taking anything you can do to give you a source of power, is going to be beneficial.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. This has been an absolute blast. Very great discussion. We're going to go around the room again and tell our listeners who you are. Anything you want to plug away. The floor will be yours. We'll start at the top. Gustavo, take it away.
Yeah, I'm Gustavo. I write as Jordan St. James. You can find us as House of Q LLC. If you like, we do write right now. We write young adult. Pretty much everything we're writing is young adult, and it is clean. But yeah, you can look us up, and I'm happy to chat. I would think it would be really cool if someone watches this and actually I get to meet them in person. And if that's the case, please come talk to me. I think that'll be amazing. And reach out on social media if you want to have a conversation about anything that we're and explore, even this conversation or something else. If I can help you in some way, I'm happy to help.
Awesome. The outlaw himself, Jesse James Fain.
Well, as he said, I am Jesse James Fain. You can find me at outlawauthor.com. That will take you to my Amazon, my X, my Substack. Pretty much pick your social choice. You will be able to find it there. I am, as Gustavo said, I'm happy to talk. If you need help as a new author, if you need to find an editor, if you need any of that, by all means, message me. I'm working on founding Assassin Inc. Assassin Inc. is going to be my publishing imprint, but it also serves as an authors and book creators guild. So I am not going to be looking for a cut or anything like that. I am simply going to try and connect you with the person who will do the work you need them to do. As far as works are concerned, Gravesinger and the Midnight Sea universe, that's my big thing right now. That's the big work. Again, you can find that on Kickstarter. Again, Special Forces retired Green Beret. His specialty in magic is necromancy. And he's going to get into all kind of shenanigans that take him through fights all across the multiverse. And end up uncovering some political schemes that might even feel a little bit too comfortable with today's news. So, come check it out. Message me if you have questions.
Awesome. Zack Riley.
Have two books, Guardians and Ellie. They're my only two published works actually on Amazon at the moment. You can find me on X, Royal Road, Literotica. I think that's it. Yeah, don't really. You can see me at car shows around Sydney. That's about the only thing I've got to. I'll be at All Holden Day on the 2nd of August.
Awesome. Take us home, Jessica. Take us home.
All right. So Jessica Barberi, you can find me at jessicabarberi.com. I have two series, Fires of an Empire and Sons of the Flame, and then a standalone novel. I am local in Michigan, so I'll be cruising around the state doing several different local fantasy events this year. You can find me on all social medias minus TikTok. I don't have a TikTok. Sorry, guys. And I try and post updates on those platforms. Additionally, I run a little podcast myself called Indie Book Release, where I talk to authors on the day their books come out. So you can check that out. Mostly just talk to them about what their book is about and their writing process. And I enjoy doing that. So that is where you can find me.
Wonderful. Well, guys, I will leave everyone's links down in the show notes. Please check that out. Check out our sponsor, Rebecca Kearsells. Check out our honorary sponsors, Janelle Schiecke and Alexander Robb. All their links will be down below. If you want to reach out, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com. And until next time, keep supporting those indie authors, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bonus section. Zach just told us one of the best marketing tips ever. Zach, take it away.
Okay. So I've been experimenting with QR codes in public places and doing things I probably shouldn't have, but leaving QR code stickers on the train next to like the service map or a bus stop has actually, I think I got 43 book sales in November last year of Guardians
Wow.
from doing this. So yeah, don't you use it your own advice, and plausible deniability is your best defense when someone comes after you.
And is it just sort of link straight to your Amazon page?
Yep.
Or
Yeah, just link it straight to the Amazon page. With the
Just
book.
blame like overzealous fans. I don't know why. They just someone else made a QR code and started putting it everywhere.
Yeah, well, look, it's the like the free McDonald's Wi-Fi. Just put like the QR code up next to that sign, and I guarantee you'll get people to
Oh
your
wow.
thing.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, like, I do experiment a lot with meta ads and things like that. I could probably say I've had better marketing success as far as return value for money doing this. So, especially on Sydney's train network.
Yeah.
So you
Because
get a lot of the yobbos and bogans in Penrith and in Campbelltown. And yeah, I bought your book.
That's awesome.